Welcome to this installment of Creative Cabin Fever. On today's installment, I have a very special guest, an old friend, someone I've been meaning to catch up with for quite some time. So we have Jack Dublin. Jack, introduce yourself to everyone at home.
Good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time this is going to come out at. My name is Jack Dublin, and I'm here chatting to Rebecca. And very cool it is, too. I'm delighted.
And I'm delighted to have you. I was so happy that you agreed to do it. And obviously, we're waiting for the perfect moment to do it. And there's no time like right now.
This is very true, but is there ever a perfect moment to do anything? You know what I mean? Just got to go with it.
So you're obviously best known for Into a New, I'd say, but obviously there's so many other things that you're very well known for. You're quite the famous bass player, you know?
Oh, famous. Okay, I can never latch onto that one. Yeah, I've done a few bits and pieces. I do what I enjoy. Playing music is it. It has always been my god, as they say. Yeah, and I suppose Two and O was the most popular of all the various ensembles that I've been with over the years. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's definitely how I got to know you anyway, was through Into a New. So
this is correct, and we won't go into the
no, no, no,
story
no, no, no,
behind that one.
no, 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 no. That's our story.
But positive things come out of things that aren't so positive, isn't that right?
That's absolutely it. We all rebuild and we all get on with things. Some of us take a bit longer. It took me 6 years to get over it, but here we are.
Well, yeah, I suppose uh, everybody kind of coming at things from their own angle and their own life and their own stuff going on. Yeah, it can hit harder than other things. People won't have a clue what we're talking about. We'll probably just park that one and leave it there. But
Here we
yeah,
are.
it'll be known at some point.
Yeah. So you're currently in lockdown like everyone else. How are you finding that? What are you doing? What's new? What's different?
This is probably going to sound strange, but it's I'm not finding it that difficult because I had a little bit of a trial run at this back in August. I had a hip replaced on my left side. I had a really bad hip, so I had hip replacement. But there was complications to the surgery, and there was a few things went wrong, and I ended up sort of having to be, I won't say in isolation, but not being able to get out and not being able to move. So I was kind of refined to quarters for quite a while. So this is kind of a bit of a doddle. It doesn't bother me as much as it's bothered some of my pals and some of my friends and family and stuff. But what I'm doing kind of pretty much what I always do. I'm playing music and writing music and working on lyrics and puttering away. Not gigging, obviously, because we're all restricted to home. But I miss that. I miss the live playing. I would love to be doing that. That's why I said to you, I would love to have even tried to do a few songs today, but I just between one thing and another didn't get the time to sort something out. But next time, if we do this again, I would love to do a couple of tunes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I even asked around all my pals, how do I make it sound perfect? Because I wanted it to be perfect. And all the answers were so varied. I was like, do you know what? Let's just have a chat because Jack's really interesting. I don't really need to hear his music. Everyone will be able to hear his music anyway. But what people don't really get to know is your personal magic. And that's what we're here to talk about, I guess.
Thank you very much. I like that personal magic. I like that. Yeah, I probably don't get a chance to sort of chit chat online with people as such, or I kind of do interviews like that. I've done radio, a lot of radio and promo stuff over the years, obviously, but yeah, this is kind of more relaxed. This is more fun. This is more kind of organic and natural. And it's lovely. It's really cool. I have to say, it's a great thing that you're doing. I'd say a lot more people will will really home in on this and really enjoy it and enjoy this kind of a banter and conversation, because it is more natural and organic. It's less intimidating. I'm in my own home talking to you, whereas if I go for an interview, I'm in a studio and it's an alien kind of surrounding, and you feel a little bit uncomfortable, and so this is kind of really nice. This is good. So yeah, well done you.
Thank you, Jack. I'm really enjoying doing it as well because I really do see it as showing people's magic, and I don't have a format so much as there's a few questions, sure, but it is a chat. Like it's genuinely a chat. Hopefully people feel comfortable. Most people have felt very comfortable. There's been the odd person, but it depends on the people as well. It's very hard to make everyone feel comfortable. So
Yeah, I suppose that makes a lot of sense. But I'm here in my music room at home where I would normally sit down and record and play and listen to stuff and whatever. So this is a very comfortable surrounding for me to be in. Not that it's a palace by any stretch of the imagination, but it's where I do my thing and weave my cloth. So yeah, I'm happy here. So that makes me feel relaxed chatting to you. So I wouldn't be nervous about this. But I think if we were sort of in a studio environment, probably would be a little bit more intimidating. So it's understandable that people, yeah, they'll click into us. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Everyone's getting used to the new way of doing things right now. So everyone's kind of growing with it. It's kind of nice to see. With regards to that yourself, has there been any change to your creative process? A lot of people have been reporting that they're going about things differently or discovering new things about how they actually create.
I don't think it's affected me that way because I've always done my own thing when it comes to creating. And when you're writing, if you're in writing mode, as I am now, I go through pockets of time where I wouldn't even pick a guitar up unless I was gigging, and then there's other times when I can't put my guitars down and I can't stop thinking about creating music, and there's lyrics flying through my head and melodies and all sorts of stuff. So it's always been a kind of an up and down, like a wave with me. Um, so it kind of hasn't really affected me in that regard, in the creative side of things. Obviously, from performing, I mean, one of my current bands now at the minute is the Guilty Party. So we do a lot of corporate gigs and even weddings and parties and pub gigs and stuff like that. No gigs. So that's hard. That's difficult. So yeah, I probably have a little bit more time on my hands because of that. But then we channel it into different things. I'm doing more cooking and baking, if that be the truth be known. I always wanted to be a
Wow.
chef when I was a kid. It was either a chef or a musician. So you can see which one won out. Yeah.
That's mad. My two main passions in life are food and music also, like.
It's not a bad thing. We need food for the body and music for the food for the soul. So there you go.
Yeah,
Both
no,
things
I
being
couldn't
nurtured.
agree more. Yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite dish to cook?
Oh God, I've got lots of them. I do like Italian food. Obviously, most people doing pastas and all that sort of stuff. I kind of cook anything, and I never stick to rest. I never look at recipes. I just fire stuff into the pot, and here we go. And my daughter said to me, "God, Dad, that was really nice. You must make that again." I said, "Yeah, if I can remember," because I never remember what I did. It's always different every time I cook. But hey,
I'd be
it,
a
it,
creative cook myself. It's kind of like however I feel on the day, but it's very hard to replicate that. On a very rare occasion would I follow instructions. Like if I had to make something completely out of the realms of normal, like if I was cooking for a plant-based friend of mine, I have a few recipe books I follow for that because you can't just add bacon. But usually, usually I keep it pretty inventive and magic.
I think the hardest thing to cook is probably vegetarian food to make it tasty and put the flavor in. And if you're dealing with the vegan, my God, that's near on impossible because they're so strict with what they eat and what they put in their body. And I'm not criticizing that. I've been vegetarian a few times in my life. I tend to go off meat a good bit every now and again. Just kind of can't touch it. Don't like the texture of it. And then I'll smell somebody cooking bacon or something, and I go, "Oh God, I'd love a bit of that." But yeah, veganism would be very hard. I don't know how people can make that work. I have to be honest. You know.
Yeah, I went and did a
Yeah,
few cooking classes to learn how to make vegan or plant-based food because I was really, really fascinated by it. And at the time, I had a partner who was vegan. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing things that were really, really interesting. And it was great learning curve. Someone who's obsessed with food like me, learning how to do something from a completely different point of view was really, really fascinating. But yeah, I'd be the same as you now. I smell bacon or I see a steak and I'm gone. Like I try not have meat on a Monday. I try to do meat-free Monday every week, but
sometimes it's easier, isn't it? Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. Um, yeah, my cooking would tend to be sort of if whatever's in the press. If there's something there, I can knock something up out of nothing, if you know that kind of way. Well, it can be very tasty, but I can put something that looks like a meal on. Um, yeah, years ago I wanted to train as a chef. That's what I did want to do, and I then realized I was very young at the time. I was probably only about 14, and I realized that in order to play music, I kind of sort of need to be working at weekends, but I couldn't do that if I was a chef because more than likely you're going to be working on a weekend if you were a chef, and that's how I lost out. But I've always had a passion for cooking, so I don't mind it. But if I'm living on my own, as happens in life from time to time, I couldn't be bothered, to be a tin of beans on toast or something or whatever. But my eldest daughter lives with me, so when she comes home from work, I always kind of say, "Oh yeah, well, it's nice to have a decent meal on the table." So I'd always try and make an effort to cook something nice. But yeah, I take it you're not vegan and not vegetarian now. It didn't click with you.
No, I was vegetarian for 7 years actually. When I was younger, I saw Babe for the first time and I went vegetarian and I was really, really passionately vegetarian. And then I got really, really sick. I was 7 stone weight and it didn't matter what I ate. So the anemia kind of won over. And I did try balance things very well. It just didn't work for me at the time. Now, it might be something I think about again in the future because I do genuinely feel bad for eating animals. Like, it's not a thing I do with pride or anything, but I don't know. I still really like
No,
the taste of them.
it's a strange thing. It's funny how we've sidetracked off into this. We'll go back to music or whatever you want in a minute, but it does really interest me because of where I live in the middle of the country now. What I was originally from Howth, which is a fishing village, so seafood was always around, and that was the staple diet for everybody way back in times that were pretty tough. Um, as a child growing up back in the 60s, 70s, but when I see the trucks with the sheep and the cattle, and I'm making a hamburger or I'm cooking a bolognese or you're doing whatever or you're making something with chicken, you kind of go, really isn't right. And I think if I remember looking at a program with that English chef Hugh Fernley Whittington or whatever his name is, and he recommended that everybody should actually slaughter their own meat. If they're a meat eater, once in their life, actually do the whole process. And I have done that living in Howth, catching fish and doing the whole thing. And it gave me a lot more respect for what the creature that I had, this is probably going to sound a bit rough, but the creature that I killed, I caught him, pulled him out of the sea, took him out of his home, the whole bit, and cooked him up. And it does give you appreciation for it. So, I think people are so desensitized now. They go into a supermarket and everything's all wrapped up in plastic and in little trays and it's all nicely cut. Now, if you had to do all that yourself, you wouldn't eat as much of it. You wouldn't throw it away and you wouldn't waste it. We have a lot of waste in society about things like that. We've become very blasé. And getting back to your original question about lockdown, I think lockdown, despite the fact that the virus is very dangerous and very real, this pandemic is a very serious thing in the world. It's also a very good thing because it's going to bring people back to realizing that we are spiritual beings living a human life. We're not human beings having spiritual awakening. We are spiritual beings here. Regardless of what your outlook on religion and the whole bit is, we are spiritual beings. And we need to get back to that. We need to get back to the sense of who we are and what we are. There's so much more to a human being than getting up at whatever time in the morning and going into work and raising your children and wanting a very nice car and having the latest TV and all the pardon my language, all the shite that goes with modern day life. There's so much more to it, and we need to get back to that. And I think so many people now are realizing that time is a very, very, very precious thing, and family and friends and taking time for yourself and sitting and being quiet and meditating and, just realizing that there's a world out there, going out and looking at the sky when the sun shines. And I wake up in the morning and all I hear is bird song. I don't hear traffic anymore. I had to move away from that. I had to get away from city life because it wasn't who I was. I've always wanted to be out somewhere nice and quiet, somewhere peaceful, somewhere where the wind blows in the trees and you hear it and you smell it. And enjoy the seasons as they happen and as they change. You don't do that in city life. We're almost like the cattle in the truck going by the window when they're coming from the field to the abattoir. And it's horrible that human life has become like that. That's really the way we've become. And we need to get back to who we are and be creative, regardless of what we do. It doesn't matter if we're artists, poets, writers, bloggers, promoters, musicians. Dream and be yourself and be human again, and wake up to what's around you. The world is a wonderful place. It's not all concrete and crap. Sorry, I'm rabbiting here.
No, that was beautiful. It's actually like I'd rehearsed that you would say all those things because they're all things I believe so passionately myself. I'm actually a fishmonger by day. I don't know if you know this about me. So I
Didn't know
have
that.
a very, very, very close understanding of what you're talking about. I don't believe in wasting animals or any life form in order for me to give myself life force. I actually can butcher full animals and have butchered full animals working for different companies over the years. I worked for a deer farm. I worked with another deer company selling venison. So I have a very, very clear understanding of what it's like not to waste all the animal. And that's my approach to it. But it's very
Mm.
different to a lot of friends of mine, which is just, it's the way it is. We all have our own existence and our own paths that we have to go down. But I'd be the same as you. Like yesterday, I was walking down to pick up this microphone that my friend gave me, which is awesome.
Very cool.
And there was all these trees in full bloom on the side of the road, and I literally skipped over this little verde and I went and played with trees because I'd missed nature so much. And it sounds mental, but I was so freaking happy smelling the trees, seeing the flowers. It was just beautiful. And those are the type of magical things I like to do all the time that make people think I'm nutty, when actually I'm probably just enjoying the moment, which is something that people are so unconditioned to do that I seem nutty because it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a part of ourselves that we've lost, and it's very sad that we have done that, and we need to get back to that. And I think because we have so much time kind of stuck to home and close to home, we're appreciating that because we have more time to contemplate it. When you're busy and you're working and the kids are in school or they're in creche or whatever it is that you're doing, you have a high pressure job, you're trying to make ends meet, you're trying to pay your mortgage, pay your rent, whatever it is, put food on the table. It's very hard, and you tend to just lose yourself in that, and you become just a cog in a wheel, as opposed to being the wonderful, magnificent being that we all are. We're all very, there is not one human being on the planet that is the same. We're all different. We're all different. We're all human, but we're all different. We all are unique. That's the beautiful thing about being human, and we've forgotten it. It's the most important thing about life.
You're completely right. Like it's everyone has their own brand of magic and everyone is so special. And like I like people who dream with their eyes open. They're a lot rarer than they used to be. Like it used to be the common thing. Everyone just dreamed out loud and believed in themselves and was able to just be who they were without feeling that they had to be anything else due to conditioning or due to societal norms. I usually try to surround myself with dreamers, they're the special ones. They're the ones that
Oh
create
yeah,
things.
I do my best work after midnight. I'm one of these people that just I love the darkness and the stillness of nighttime, and the mad frenzied kind of energy just sort of dies down. But now, having moved out to the countryside, I left Dublin about 8 years ago, roughly, and then I lived in a town for a while. Now I'm further out, and it's incredible. Just the energy of around me is just it's amazing, and I find that I actually can create more within that stillness. It allows me to go into myself and I won't say meditate or whatever, but maybe it is. It really is. I mean, meditation is just being still and being quiet and shutting out all the stuff, stopping your brain, slowing your brain down, and just being in touch with what is. Everything is. We've got life force in us, so you just click into it. And I find I can do that because of the being in out in the quiet and away from sort of all the frenziedness. But somebody sent me a video there the other day of Dublin now in lockdown, and there's nobody on the streets, and one or two people kind of just walking around, but places that would be a hive of activity are now still and quiet, and there's nothing happening. And there's such an eeriness about it, being in a city with nobody in it. When you come out into the country and there's nobody around, the place is alive and buzzing because you pick up all these other energies that are around. You can nearly feel the trees growing and the plants growing. And it's such a cool thing now that they've decided to let all the little wild meadow flowers and everything start to grow. If I have to hop in my car and go, the nearest town to me is about 18 kilometers. So if I have to hop into the car and go into town, it's amazing just looking out at the fields and looking at stuff starting to come alive. And it's incredible. And I love sitting out in the garden at night time when it's pitch black and just looking at the sky and looking at the stars and going, wow. I
Yeah.
suppose once a hippie, always a hippie.
And I'm the same. Like, I literally used the first 2 weeks of lockdown to get my garden in order because I never had one. And I knew I wouldn't be able to go down to the park or enjoy nature and I'd go insane. So I have a fire pit and I light it every night. And I literally just sit outside my fire pit listening to my favorite music, staring at the stars. So when my son's not here, at least I have something to look forward to, to just be with music, to just be with the stars, to just exist. That stillness. And yeah, to me also it is a meditative state. Like, I imagine playing music is very similar as well, because that sense of flow, like being able to play your guitar or your bass, that also brings you to, well, I would imagine as a musician, a state of self and consciousness just expressed differently.
Yeah, I would say that I go into a different zone when I play, especially in the creative phase of that, on that side of things. If somebody said, what are your influences? I couldn't actually tell anybody, oh, it's because I listened to that album then. And, if I'm creating, I'm kind of funny. I won't listen to other people's music because I would end up then regurgitating what I've been listening to for the last 6 weeks. So when I start getting into kind of wanting to write, I stop listening to music. I don't listen to any music anymore, and I just kind of let that. It's almost like a pressure cooker, and I let it kind of just bubble up inside me, and then I'll come in and I'll start playing around with a drum station or a drum machine here and start programming and just getting a beat. And then being a bass player, I'll just groove along with that. And then I'll start layering up stuff after that. And I'll start going then to lyrics that it might have been, ideas might have started coming into my head, and I'll start adding those in and go, oh yeah, I like this. That feels, the feeling of the lyric is the same sort of feeling as the music for me. And then I'll start trying to put a vocal melody. And I suppose that would be, being honest, not being a singer, that would probably be my weakest point, to be able to interpret that in vocal form. So that's why I always love I love the creative, I love the whole creative thing with other people. I work best within that. I can come up to a certain point, I find, I suppose, doing it as long as I'm doing it, I know what my shortcomings are, and I know what my failings are, if for want of a better way of putting it. I know my strengths as well, so I know that I can do this and this and this and this. And after that, I like to involve other people and then get a different kind of a mindset to it, and that then steers me off into a different place again. And off we go, and then I will finish a song then with somebody. I prefer writing with others as opposed to sort of sitting down and writing a solo album and all this kind of thing. I've never wanted to do that, so I don't do that. I would say in my current phase of the last few weeks of writing, I probably have about 50 songs basically there that need to be worked on, which would be potentially 2 albums in there. But if you were being very critical about it, you'd probably knock it down to one, because you'd say, no, I don't want that, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that. So yeah, how did I get into this, by the way?
No, it's good because this is fascinating. Do you know now they're saying you're
I just ramble.
no, but I find it fascinating because I'm not a creator. So I find like even the quest for this particular interviews, like, so the idea is creative cabin fever. It's to see the change in lockdown and to log a moment in time. But I find it fascinating how you guys make the thing that makes my life so magic. Like without music, I don't exist. Like I simply cannot survive without the soundtrack to my life, but I can't create it. I don't know how, I wouldn't know how, but to me, music is literally my life force, as is food. And so for me, learning how you create, so like, so you're like, you've got 50 songs aside now, right? So let's say we're planning an album, you're going to pick one album, you get rid of the rest. Over the years, have you ever had a song that haunted you that you went, I really should have stuck with that one?
That's an interesting question. I probably have a lot of songs that I have either co-written or have written a few on my own that I put out there. And I've kind of said, well, I actually that didn't get to exactly where I wanted it to go. And I think most artists tend to be like that. You know, it's like the painter painting the picture kind of doesn't quite get the moment he's trying to capture within his own psyche, within inside himself or herself. And they keep trying and trying and trying. You know, to actually stop and pull back at the right time, it is quite a gift to be able to do that. And we either do too much or too little. And I have to say, I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I do too much with something. Sometimes I don't do enough. And but I go in, for me, I go in on the feeling. I tend to go, I tend to be able to hit how I felt when I was writing that and why it stirred me to write that, or if there was a topic that I was writing about. I was talking to a good pal of mine. I wrote a B-side years ago with Intuinu called The Ballad of Irish Love. And it was very, um, Paul O'Brien from Clannad came in and helped us to do the harmonies and stuff in the studio when we were recording. And I sent him the demo of the song. And it's a hard-hitting song because it deals with incest and physical abuse and institutional abuse within the country a good few years ago, but still very relevant today, in fact, the way life is. But he said, my God, I said, I don't know whether to rejoice in somebody touching this topic or to feel depressed, because it was quite a hard-hitting thing. And he'd gotten right into the song and listened to it, and he was trying to pick out the vocal harmonies for us and help us with those. As you know, Clan had been one of the most wonderful vocal harmonies that they've created in their music and in their songs. Absolutely fantastic. But I I was never kind of happy from the production point of view with that song, but I was very happy with the actual content of the song and the lyrical content and the basis of it and the simplicity of it. But I felt I never captured it. I would love to go back to that. There's an example of kind of what we're talking about. I would love to go back to that and maybe rewrite that again, or re-record it, probably not rewrite it. But yeah, there's lots of songs that over the years that I've done that I've been involved in, and yeah, you know, they're like a diary in your life. You know what I mean? Songs are for a writer. I think songs are like a diary. You come through different phases in your life and different points in your life, and they're kind of the soundtrack to the days you're living at the time. And yeah, so you know, I probably enjoy other people's music more that way, because it brings back memories of a certain time when I was hanging out or doing this or doing whatever. And that is kind of, yeah, I've got a huge soundtrack to life, because there's loads of stuff that I love, and very very wide varied taste in music. I wouldn't stick to one kind of a thing, you know.
Yeah, me either. I try keep it pretty varied. Now, one of my favorite questions to ask an artist, any artist, is what was the first song they fell in love with? Because I believe that's your gateway drug into rock and roll. So, what was yours?
God, that's a hard one.
I know. I like to
I
make them a
think,
little bit.
yeah, the first one, the first one. Well, I put it like this to you. The first song that resonated with me, and I'm going way back, I was a child. Well, and it actually was the first single that I ever bought on good old vinyl back in the days, was Bend Me, Shape Me by Eamon Corner. You've probably never even heard of them, have you? So
Not even going to pretend I know what you're on about, but I look it up.
Andy Fairweather Lowe is the main guy in that band. That would have been back in the 60s. I'm the youngest. I've got two brothers and a sister. So I was the youngest in the family. There's 7 years between me and the next guy. Um, what's affectionately known in my family, I'm the Guinness baby, the drunken knight of passion. But anyway, because they were that bit older than me, there was always music in the house. So I kind of grew up listening to what they were listening to. So I probably had a slightly more mature taste in music as a child. And one of the things that I homed in on was this band, Damon Cormer, and I really loved it. But there's been so many over the years. My latest passion is LP. Do you know LP, the American?
Love LP.
Oh
Love.
my God, I went to
Yeah.
see her in the Olympia with my two daughters. Oh, heaven, paradise. Both one daughter on either side. Oh my God, watching this woman perform. Talk about dying and going to heaven. It was absolutely amazing.
That's
You didn't get to see that gig, did you? Were you at that gig
No,
in
I
the
wasn't
Olympia
at that
there?
gig. No, I've been trying to go to one gig a month and I've been trying to go outside of Waterford. So I try to do a gig in Waterford every week minimum when they're on. And then I try to go to either Dublin or Cork. And I'm trying to hit the underground hardest because I want to kind of get to know bands and see what's out there because that's kind of
Yeah.
my purpose. But the last big gig I went to was in the Button Factory, Beak, and the one before that was Slipknot. Outside of that, my budget just doesn't like I can probably go to 4 big gigs and then yeah.
Was that Slipknot the last gig they did in the Three Arena?
Yeah.
My daughter was there at that. She's a huge Slipknot fan, loves them. Her and her boyfriend went to see it. She took a photo and sent it to me. The bass player had this flamethrower on the end of his bass. Yeah. And she said,
Your
Dad, you need to get one of these.
your daughter and I are probably very close to each other in the crowd. Watch.
Quite possibly, quite possibly, quite
It was
possibly.
amazing actually. I got there really early and I was at the front and this guy I'd never met before just started talking to me and you know me, I'd talk to anyone and he was Indian and he'd never been to a big mosh pit before. So he'd never been to a Slipknot concert and he'd never been in that situation. So at first Behemoth were on and it was quite tame. And then the Slipknot thing happened and he was like, am I going to be okay? And I was like, yeah, just go with it. Stop fighting it. Just enjoy the pit. So I ended up being able to kind of relive my first pit through the eyes of a guy who'd never been in that situation and just be able to help him be calm and enjoy what was going on. It was amazing. And there was these two other guys, they were from England, they were in a band. One had just got dumped the week before, so he had this extra ticket, so his friend came over and it was actually cheaper for them to fly to Ireland to see Slipknot than it would have been for them to go see them in England. So they were great crack and there was all these really cool little adventures going on and I love that. Like I love music because it's such a community. Like you never know who you're going to meet at a gig. You never know who else is there and everyone's there for the same reason, that feeling, that resonance, and everyone's just losing themselves in music and it's beautiful.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, like the energy at a gig like that is phenomenal. I mean, and it's a joint effort between the artist and the crowd. And the artist gives a bit out, and the crowd suck it up and give it back, and then the artist goes again, and it just keeps growing and growing. It's great when that happens. That is fantastic. Yeah. Mosh pits are scary.
I live for them. It's my little anger outburst. You know, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be so bubbly. I really think it's why metalheads are so chill, to be honest. Like, you very, very rarely meet a metalhead that's actually aggro filled. I think it's because we mosh it out of our systems, you know?
Yeah,
If I'm having a particularly bad day, I will mosh in my house until I feel okay.
around the kitchen, bumping into the presses. I used to think dancing with the dog was bad in the kitchen. No, I'm very tame in comparison.
So LP is obviously one of the artists you've been losing yourself to at the moment. Is there anybody else that stands out that you've just been listening to a lot more than you probably would have if it wasn't for this situation?
I've been going back to the blues. I've always loved the blues. I wouldn't be known to other musicians within the music industry as being somebody who is a blues player, but I've roots of music, etc., etc., etc. Rock and roll roots are in the blues. So my the other band that I will say, well, not a band, they're a duo, Lark and Poe, two girls, two sisters from the States. Oh my God, they are just amazing. They're absolutely fantastic. The first thing I heard about them was I saw a little clip on YouTube. They wrote a song about their uncle who suffers from schizophrenia. Mad as a Hatter is the name of the track.
I know it.
There you go. And that's what turned me on to them. And then I started, uh, they've done the old kind of rock and roll approach, which I would have done myself, into the van, doing the gigs, driving up around the country, going off, sleeping in the back of the van, doing whatever, not getting any money, all the usual shit for years and years and years. They're kind of doing the same, only they're doing it in America, and there's a lot more places to do it. So they're probably doing 150, 200 gigs a year, which is a huge amount of gigs for when you take the size of America. It's not a lot in Ireland because you can drive to and from a gig and home, no matter where it is in the country, apart from maybe Dingle or somewhere, or the tip of Donegal. It's a bit more difficult, but you could drive to Galway and back to Dublin if you were living in Dublin, or even Waterford or whatever. So it's not that hard to do that, and lots of bands playing in pubs and stuff are doing that, and they're doing that amount of gigs a year anyway. But these girls were doing little clips from their hotel rooms where they were staying in motels and stuff, and just getting in and just singing songs, Steppenwolf songs and whatever, and loads of little blues things. And they just blew me away. And literally, sort of a buzz just kind of launched off and clicked with them. And all of a sudden, they've become really, really popular. And they ended up playing with huge artists. All these big artists wanted them to join them on stage and stuff. The other person that I've been listening to a lot of is Eric Gales, the blues player. He's like Jimi Hendrix. He's like a new Jimi Hendrix. Oh my God. I mean, talk about that man. He just goes into a zone and off he goes and he plays. And I just love that. It's just so natural and organic. It's wonderful. So yeah, I've been listening to a lot of blues lately, but well, I've formed a new band with a couple of members of the Guilty Party. The Guilty Party is this covers band, this corporate band. We do various parties and stuff like that and pub gigs. And we formed out of the Shane gang. Shane McGowan wanted a punk band, and we were the collective that was put together for Shane to have a punk band. And we did a few gigs for Shane. We did a few festivals and stuff like that. And Shane is a difficult man to tie down, and we were waiting in the studio for him for all through the night. He works better at night time, and he wouldn't arrive. He'd be off. Oh, he's in some bloody restaurant having his dinner with Vicky, and he wouldn't arrive in, or he's gone off on the piss somewhere or whatever. So we ended up forming the Guilty Party. But out of the Guilty Party, John, who plays guitar with us, is a blues player and a fantastic blues guitar player. And he's kind of sort of been chomping at the bit to do something, and I've been getting kind of itchy feet about trying to do something again, and would like to go back to that. And that's kind of sort of the stuff that's, being the youngest of all my family and listening to the music of my siblings, there was a lot of blues and kind of stuff in the house and bands that were coming out of that blues influence and all of that. So yeah, I'm kind of going back to my roots with that. So we formed a band literally just before the pandemic kicked in, called the Sacred Charms. So we're hoping to start gigging that whenever this lifts. So a lot of my songwriting at the minute is kind of blues orientated. We're sort of doing a a kind of funk blues, basically, is what it is. It's a little bit of a side slant to the bluesy stuff. So there you go. But that's what
Well,
I've been
I'm
listening
really
to.
excited to hear that. Like, I discovered a band today. You probably know them for ages, and I probably heard them before, but today I lost myself to them. Blackbird and Crow.
Sounds familiar. I don't know their stuff now. Being honest with you, I don't know their
Yeah.
stuff. I'll have a look. I'll
Look,
have a listen later on.
yeah, I think you'll love it. It's kind of, I don't know, old folk country, but it's Irish. Like, she's obviously a northern girl with a really strong northern accent, but there's definitely huge blues elements in there. It's really interesting. I was just like, wow, this is powerful stuff. I'm gonna keep listening to this for the day now.
Cool. Where are they based, Rebecca? Where are they from?
It must be up north somewhere because it's such a short
Right.
northern accent. I didn't look into it that much yet. They've got about 5,000 followers on Facebook, so they're
Ah,
they're on their way, you know.
yeah. Cool. It's lovely to hear that. It's lovely to hear of new bands and new talent. We spoke on the phone there about last week or thereabouts, and you were talking about Waterford and how decimated the whole music scene had become, and it needs new life and new blood and new thinking and new passion put into it. And better girl than yourself to be the one to do that. And the music business in this country revolves around people like you. It's so important that people are passionate about doing it. It doesn't just have to be artists and musicians trying to create music, but it needs people who can put it together for them and do it for them. So it's very important, and it's lovely to hear of new bands out there and exciting times ahead, because the creative process, regardless of what happens in the world after this pandemic, it has to stay alive. It has to continue on. It has to grow, because people need to express themselves, and people need to laugh and cry and dance and sing and be happy and be sad and the whole thing. And no better way of doing that than music, or the written word, or pictures and painting and photography and anything, whatever it is, whatever expresses the artistic side of life. There has to be somebody out there will find a way, hopefully, to maintain it and keep it alive. Because in my lifetime, the music industry and the way music is sold and manufactured and everything has changed so much. I suppose I really would be a dinosaur in comparison to the way the kids are now, and how they create and what they do. And they're probably a little bit more aware of the business side of it, and they know how to self-promote and all of that. Whereas I wouldn't be good at that. Being honest, I wouldn't be good at that, because I would never have been a sort of person who wants to. I never took to music to be a person who wants to be in the limelight. I took to music to express the things that I couldn't find in life elsewhere, that music allowed me to express. And I think the kids now have a good balance of being able to do that, but also sell it. I've probably been the worst in the world for going out and trying to sell something I've created, because I'd still be analyzing it and critiquing it for the next 10 years, and its shelf life would have been and gone. So yeah, I'd probably be a dinosaur from that point of view. But it's great to hear of new talent and new people out there doing it and being encouraged to do it. That is the key. And people like yourself being there to support that is wonderful. It's very important. Very important.
Well, yeah, it's really important to me because Waterford has been such like a talent hotspot. Like there are so many incredible acts hail from Waterford, and no one seems to be paying much attention to Waterford. So it's kind of like, how do I get everyone to notice? Because I don't mind like whether I think your music is good, because someone out there is going to think your music is their life. So once
Yeah.
you get noticed, everyone in Waterford gets noticed. So that's how it should be. Everyone should be helping each other. There should be the sense of camaraderie. We should all be going to gigs. We should all be supporting each other. And that's literally all I care about. Like,
Yeah, the kind of more sort of music cooperatives, the sharing of information, the sharing of resources, the sharing of things, that is very important. Back when in Tuanua were first starting off, thanks to you two, thanks to Bono and Adam and Larry and Edge, they wanted to do the same. They wanted to give back and they weren't even anywhere near the height of the success that they were destined for. This was early stages for them, and they formed Mother Records with the intention of giving a platform to new and young bands coming up, as we were at the time. And without them, we probably wouldn't have had the success that we had. So it was thanks to them and their vision to do that and to help, and the desire to do that. So it's very important. It's very important that there are people out there who will do that and do that. So, you know, creativity is not just writing a song or playing an instrument or painting a picture. You know, it's also the stuff that goes behind a gig and an event and a show to make it all run smoothly, and the lineup of talent is stitched together in the right way, and it's the right energy and the right buzz. That is a huge skill set within itself. So, you know, a lot of people don't acknowledge that and appreciate that, what goes into that. And that's the likes of people like you who do that, you know.
So, just to get people buzzed about gigs again, Jack, do you have
Okay.
any top gig memories for yourself, either that you performed at or that you attended? Obviously, we had LP with the two daughters, but like, you know, what else?
I haven't been at a lot of gigs lately. Funny enough, I don't get a lot of time to go to gigs because most weekends I would be gigging. I would be gigging Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Let me think, who was the last gig before LP? God, it's a long time ago since I was at a gig.
I'm so sorry.
I actually don't get to go and see them. Isn't that sad? That's really, really sad. And I would like to go and see more. I used to years ago. I used to go and see a lot of gigs when I was younger, but I find now that I don't have the time, and that's a sad thing to say, isn't it? Some of the most memorable gigs I was ever at was the Rolling Stones in Slane. That was one of the most amazing gigs I've ever seen in my entire life. The other was the Seeger sessions with Bruce Springsteen in the old Point Depot, the Three Arena, before it became the Three Arena. And he had a 17-piece band on stage with him. And I went, oh my God, I've never heard anything like this. They were doing folk songs and brass section and banjos, and it was just the most amazing energy and vibe. I'd seen Bruce Springsteen live. I'm not a fan, but I have great respect, and I do love a lot of his songs. But it's kind of a bit, it kind of got that American whole have a nice day stamp to it, and it kind of became a little bit sort of elevator music when I was listening to him live. It was all very, it kind of just felt a bit manufactured. And when I went to see him with the Seeger sessions, I went, oh my God, this man's at home. He's found something that he doesn't have to be anything or pretend he's anything or project himself in a way that he is, you know, the man and the whole whatever label he has on him that the press give him and all of that. And it was lovely to see it. The other memorable gig, absolutely fantastic, was Paul McCartney in the Three Arena. And oh my God, the man is 70 whatever years of age, and he did 2.5 hours, and he played bass and he played piano and he played ukulele and he played this and he played that, and he sang and he was funny and humorous. And there was not one sense of kind of arrogance or I'm history up here, I'm a god here, I'm a music god. He was just so down to earth and so natural. It was like being at probably a party in his house almost, you know. It had that feel about it, with whatever 15,000 people, 20,000 people, whatever the Three Arena holds. It was wonderful. That was magic. To me, that was brilliant. I've been to a few little gigs, you know, places like Whelan's and stuff, where there's been these kind of unplugged things and sort of singer-songwriter nights and stuff. I can't even remember some of the names of the bands. I went to see my youngest daughter. A couple of her pals were playing in a band in a competition for a slot somewhere in one of the festivals or something. In one of the tents was the prize. It was the King Kong, the King Kong dude, as I call him. I forget the guy's name. and he was putting on stuff in Whelan's. But there was one duo that were on, a real grungy kind of duo. I went, oh my God, there's now there's the future of rock and roll coming up in front of me there. This guy was probably about 16 or 17, and he was the real sort of Kurt Cobain. I've never seen or heard anything about him. I've looked out to see if I recognized him, but I haven't seen anything about it. And I really hope and pray that sort of he hasn't gone off and now become an engineer or something, or,
Or
civil
chef.
service or whatever. But yeah, yeah, I'm probably a bit of a boring old fart in that respect, that I don't get to see enough gigs. I'll probably start doing that a little bit more. That's one of the things I probably would like to do. All right, yeah. Go and see
But you're
more
right,
people.
it is hard as a musician or like a promoter to actually make time for gigs outside of work. Like I actually have to schedule time off, it's a pursuit. I try to do it once every 5 weeks. I turn my phone off. I tell everyone I'm going away. I do not answer anyone, and I go and enjoy the music. I don't even really take pictures anymore, like, because it feels like work. So even if I go to the gig with my friends, I'm like, guys, you go do your own thing. And I'm going to go stand by myself, because if I'm surrounded by other people, I know I'm not able to enjoy it or lose myself in it. So I've taken that step, because otherwise, like last time I was in it so long and I was going to gigs all the time and working all the time, I lost the love. Like it just died. It took a while to get it back.
Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing too. You do tend to. It's like anything. If you get too much of one thing, you lose the appreciation for it. I suppose that's probably only natural. If you were going to gigs every week or whatever, yeah, that's why I'm often amazed at, um, because we play a circuit in the Guilty Party. Um, just a lot of the same people will arrive at that. They're going to be there pretty much most of the time, and they love it. And I kind of say, Jesus, do they not get bored to listen to this? Because we're doing the same kind of stuff, and we try and jig it up a bit, and we try and change it, and we, if Johnny's in the mood and there's a good solo coming out, and we'll extend it out. So it won't always be. No two gigs are exactly the same, but there is a certain amount of repetition within that. And I often wonder, do people not just get bored, sort of doing that? Being honest, I have to say, I get bored playing every now and again. I do. I suppose that's only human nature, isn't it? Yet I couldn't live without it. I would not do anything else. I could never. I've been doing this since I was 9 years of age. I won't tell you what age I am now, but it's something I've got to do, and I can never not do it. But at the same time, you do need a little break from it every now and again, because it gets in on you. It becomes too much. There's too much of the same thing. That's when I want to go out and walk in the fields or spend some time by water. Living in the Midlands, I miss the sea. I grew up by the sea, and I miss that. I miss the energy of that. So I would pursue that rather than go to gigs. That's just me. So there you go.
That's all perfect, really, to be honest with you. The last question I have, which is a question I'm trialing now at the moment with people, because it's seeming like this lockdown is going to keep getting extended. But what's the first thing you're going to do when you get out of lockdown?
My youngest daughter lives in Dublin, and I haven't seen her now in probably 6 or 7 weeks. So it's going to be the biggest, longest hug in history when I get to see her. So yeah, apart from that, that's my personal ambition. Apart from that, yeah, meeting up with all my pals and playing some music live again. I am missing that. Having said that, I want to go off and go for a walk on the beach and stuff when it gets too much. It's now been the opposite of that. I've had too much walking around and listening to nature and stuff. I need to get back and get playing again with other people and interacting with other people. But I suppose all the sort of normal stuff, going in and buying yourself a pair of socks or whatever it is, or a bit of shopping, that kind of thing, bit of retail therapy and a few pints in the pub and having a laugh with my mates and and seeing the people that I'm missing, all the people that I love. So yeah, it's that, all of that. I presume, it must be the same for everybody. Everybody must be in that situation. You must be feeling that yourself, you know. You're kind of restricted to 2 kilometers.
Yeah,
It's
as an
hard, you know.
extrovert, I'm finding it really, really difficult. Nobody's noticing me because I'm inside my house on my own.
Oh, I bet you there's lots of people out there saying, "Where's Rebecca? We're missing Rebecca. We haven't seen her. Where is she?"
Yeah, no, it's really weird. And a huge part of my day since I stopped drinking is going for coffee and just networking and talking to people. So I just had to reinvent it. Like things like this are allowing me to stay sane, I guess, to feel
Yeah,
needed. And
we
it's
all need an
also,
outlet. Yeah, you know, and you know, you're kind of you're hitting on one now that is resonating really well for you, and yeah, and helping the likes of me and other musicians and other artists and stuff like that. Keep in touch with the world out there, and it's kind of important. You know, we are kind of we're pack beings. You know, we need the pack. We need other people. We need other people to bounce off, and you know, we it's like I had to stop kind of going on Facebook because I was listening to too much doom and gloom and stuff like that, as opposed to looking for a positive in the situation. You know, collective energy can grasp onto something and they can run with it. You know, it's like um, if you ever played ball with a little child in the garden and you kick the ball to them, and instead of getting the idea if they kick it back, you'll kick it back to them. They pick it up and they run away with it. And some people do that a lot, and they home in on something and off they go. And I can't hack that. I don't. You know, life isn't all one thing. Life is about lots of stuff, and it's about having really good people in your life and close to you and all of that sort of stuff. And you know, yeah, missing those and not being able to sort of I chat with everybody on the phone and keep in touch with people, but it's not the same. Not the same. This is where this is lovely because this is kind of this has been at home. I'm still stuck within my boundaries, but all of a sudden the outside world has come into my home, and it's lovely. It's really nice, and it's nice to be able to express and see other people and all of that. Yeah, and no nicer person than to be doing this with than yourself. It's wonderful. It's great.
thank you, Jack. Everyone will be like, has he met her? What he met?
We have a long time ago. It was a long time ago. It was a long time ago.
No, I'm really enjoying doing them and I'm really, really grateful that you took the time to talk to me. Is there anything you'd like to add to the interview before I let you go back to being awesome?
No, if there's anything that you would like to ask or we haven't covered, or if there's anything, you know,
I
I'm
think we did
open.
it
I
all and
can't
there
think of
was a
anything that
really
I
good
want to
flow.
say. You know, I just rabbit. You know, that's just me.
You don't, Rabbit. You're very interesting. That's why this was a very interesting conversation. So anyone who's
Ah,
watching
that's where you don't know me.
Ah, I don't know. I think we know each other quite well. Anyone who's watching this, who's watching it because of Jack, my promotions company is called Viking Promotions, and these are interviews called Creative Cabin Fever. You can find them on YouTube and the Facebook page. And if you yourself want to reach out to me and be interviewed, I would be delighted. I'm interviewing artists of all forms. You don't have to just be a musician because, as Jack keeps saying in his interview, the same way I see it, arts of all sorts need a platform now. So I want to hear your story. I want to know what makes you magic and make sure the world gets to see it in this funny time and log your creative outlets. So yeah, Jack, thank you so much for doing the interview. I'll stop recording in a minute. Say goodbye to everyone.
Whereas, yeah, thanks to everybody who will listen into this, and hopefully some of you will enjoy the banter and the chit chat. And yeah, I hope people support Rebecca in this endeavor of hers. It's a wonderful thing to do, and lots more of it. And the more people who listen in and share the links, etc., the more that artists can express and you know, get their stuff out there. And you know, there's always human beings behind the music and the art and the pictures and the paintings and the drawings and whatever and the poetry. So yeah, it's nice to get to know. And she's a pretty cool girl herself, so she's nice. She's nice. Ask nice, easy questions.
Yeah, nothing too complicated. Like, how's your ma? It's just very, very simple. What's your favorite color?
That.
All right.